Hello, everybody. Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. Please let me know in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, what town, what city, what country. And thank you all for tuning in. We've got 1,000 people already waiting, so please make sure you've hit the like button, and whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or otherwise. So let's try and get started immediately. You guys should be able to see that. Okay, so I'm gonna try and pull this up on the maps for you, right? So let us begin. So yesterday you have about 10 children who were killed in Majdal Shams, which is in Syria, and the Israelis have been pretending that this is that these are Israelis who were killed, that this is in Israel, and that they are going to punish Hezbollah for the strike, even though they can't prove or provide evidence that it was Hezbollah. Okay, so again, Majdal Shams, just to show you on the map here. Is right there in the Golan Heights, okay? So you see the dotted lines, okay? This is the Golan Heights, okay? These are the occupied Golan Heights. Israel invaded them in 1967. They've been controlling them since 1967. We've looked at previous UN resolutions clearly saying this is Syria, but in case you had any doubt, there's United Nations Security Council Resolution 242, and there's also 497, which says that the Israeli decision to impose Israel's laws, jurisdiction, and administration in the occupied Syrian Golan Heights is null and void and without international legal effect. Okay? Null and void. So the Israelis are getting hyped up over something that is not in their territory. All right? And you can see here from this CNN correspondent that none of the 12 killed in the Majdal Shams strike on Saturday are Israeli citizens. None. Israel has offered citizenship to residents, but most have refused. They have Israeli residency cards, but are not considered citizens. Okay? So when it comes to the community, we're talking about Druze. Now, Druze, I'm saying Druze, not Jews. Okay, just to be clear, in case you're mishearing me. Druze are basically, I mean, without going into, the entire history of the religion, they're originally kind of like an offshoot, if you will, of Shia Islam, but they're considered something apart, okay? So they're considered their own religious sect entirely. And they are primarily Arab, they speak Arabic, and you have most of them living in Syria, then in Lebanon, and then in Palestine. So, if you find Druze who are in Syria, they will be very, patriotic, and it's funny, I was listening to the Israeli report, and even they were, corroborating that, essentially. But I mean, it's, essentially they're very patriotic wherever you find them. And you have some who are in the Israeli army, but again, not from this community, okay? This community is in Syria. They feel Syrian, they identify Syrian, they reject Israel, and they say we are occupied people, okay? I've done a couple of reports in the past on the Druze in the Golan Heights, and, Israel trying to build all this, because they've ethnically cleansed the place before, right? And they were trying to build on top of their farms and all this stuff. I think it was about 2 years ago. I did a report on the channel, just in case you want to watch it. Okay, so these are the names of the children, and it's so funny watching the Israelis post a photo of them and pretending that they care about these children, right? Like, since when do the Israelis care about children, period, right? And especially Arab children it's ridiculous. It's like, look at the names. You can tell these are Syrian names, right? Fakhr al-Din, Halabi, Abu Salah. Here's John, so that's a Christian name, for a Christian name from Syria. So these are all Syrian children, all of them, and they're aged. You can see between what is it, 10 to 16. Okay, so it's incredible that they say it was Hezbollah, because if you look at the impact crater, I mean, where is the crater? That's the point. I mean, this does not look like anything that Hezbollah would fire. You know, if you look at the rockets that Hezbollah have, the ordnance, we're talking about 50 kilograms of explosives minimum. 50 kilograms, 80 kilograms, and that is enough to leave a hole in the ground. Not only that, but they never fire one. They don't just fire one rocket. They fire barrages of Katyushas and you know, unless we're talking about ATGMs, that's a completely different thing. The ATGM would have, again, also made an enormous crater. But just even the lightest warhead, we're talking about 50 kilograms. Where's the crater? Where is the crater? Okay, you would have holes everywhere across the entire pitch. Okay, so this doesn't make sense to me. The forensic evidence indicates that this was not Hezbollah. Not only that, but Hezbollah would admit, had they made a mistake, they would admit that they have done something. Look, I'll show you here, for example. Okay, this is from Asad Abu Khalil, professor. He says that Hassan reminds us that back in July war of 2006, an errant Hezbollah missiles fell on an Arab town in occupied Palestine and Palestinians were killed. Hezbollah did not deny responsibility and officially and publicly offered an apology for the mistake. It was mentioned in a speech by Nasrallah. Okay? There's also another thing from Nasrallah where he's telling people to, also in the same July 2006 war, okay? Where he's telling the Arab Jews who live in Haifa to, you know, evacuate because they're in the way of the bombs and they don't want to hit them. Okay?
ولعرب حيفا رسالة خاصة. أقول نحن حزنا ونحزن لشهدائكم ولجرحاكم. أنا أرجوكم وأتوجه إليكم أن تغادروا هذه المدينة. أتمنى عليكم أن تفعلوا ذلك. خلال الفترة الماضية إن وجودكم وما أصابكم جعلنا نتردد في التعرض لهذه المدينة بالرغم من أن الضاحية الجنوبية تقصف سواء قصفت حيفا أو لم تقصف حيفا.
Yeah, so he's saying we don't want to hit you. You're in the way, basically. Because remember that Israel kind of they ethnically cleansed Arab Jews from all over the Middle East, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, Yemen, etc. So he's basically telling them, please get out of Haifa because we don't want to hit you by accident, okay? Just to give you an idea of Hezbollah and their position, you have to understand that when it comes to Druze, they are extremely patriotic in the Golan Heights. They're Syrian. They will go out with Syrian flags and pictures of al-Assad and the president, and you know, they refuse to become Israeli citizens. They completely refuse it. So the idea that Hezbollah would hit these people who are not only their you know, brothers and sisters and cousins and neighbors, literally, but also in, you know, residents of their closest ally, Syria, is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They would not do that. Just, again, to be clear, this is like, you know, it's like the United States shelling Canada. Why would the United States shell Canada? That makes literally no sense. Okay? Just to give you an idea. It makes no sense. So, not only that, but Hezbollah have hit the Israelis over 1,000 times, over 1,500, 1,600 times. Okay? They have a live counter in their museum. It's over 1,600 times minimum since October 7th. Have you ever heard of them hurting a civilian? Any civilian? I think maybe there's one Israeli civilian, quote unquote, right? Like an actual person who is not wearing an IDF uniform. That's it. Hezbollah don't accidentally, you know, drop things on people. That just has not happened. And the idea that out of all the places in the Golan Heights, it would happen on a Druze in Majdal Shams, on a Druze town, is so far-fetched. You have to be a foreigner and, you know, and or an idiot to believe that. You have to be someone with no idea who, you know, who the Druze are, where Majdal Shams is, what Hezbollah and their political and military alignments and goals are, to believe that. You have to be like this, you know, like German media. Look at them writing tödlichste Attacke auf israelische Zivilisten. They're not Israelis. Once again, these are Syrians with Syrian names and who live in Syria and reject Israel. But, you know, I've never seen the Israelis so upset about dead Syrians in my life. I think it's the first time they've ever given a crap about dead Arab children and dead Syrians. So I can't wait to see what their retaliation, quote unquote, is. So, you know, even if you believe that Hezbollah did this, even if you believe that, you really believe it was Hezbollah, their beef is with Syria. It's not with Israelis. Do you understand? Even if you believe that Hezbollah did this, their beef is with Syria. It's not with Israel. These are not Israelis. This is not in Israel. I can't be clearer, okay? And the irony is, Netanyahu tried to meet with the families of the victims, and they said no. I mean, just to really drive the point home. This is in the times of Israel. Families of kids killed in Golan, they should be writing the Syrian Golan Heights, rocket attack, refuse to meet Netanyahu. Yeah. They don't want to meet him. They're disgusted. Okay? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has unsuccessfully tried to organize a meeting today or tomorrow between the premier and several relatives of the children killed in the Hezbollah rocket strike. Again, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? So, you know, that really, I think, drives the point home. And the question is now, well, what was it? If it wasn't Hezbollah, who the hell did this? Okay, so we have two other possibilities. The other possibility is that this was an Iron Dome misfire. Okay, so when there are Hezbollah rockets incoming, the Israelis activate the Iron Dome to shoot the rockets down. Okay, you have a missile that follows and tries to shoot down the rocket. Sometimes these missiles don't work. Okay, they're duds. They misfire or they go in the wrong direction and they hit, random people or random targets. As a matter of fact, I have a video to show you of an Israeli Iron Dome missile doing just that in the exact same town 3 months ago, or 4 months. Now it's March, so here's the video, okay? This is in Majdal Shams, the exact same town in the Golan Heights, and you can see the Israeli Iron Dome just randomly landing, on the town. I'm going to read you a statement now. This is a statement from the head of the Druze initiative, okay, for El Risala. And he says, the missiles that fall on the Druze villages in the Golan and the Galilee are Israeli interceptor missiles, okay, from the Iron Dome. And they always cause great damage to places and to lives. We see Iron Dome missiles miss their targets and fall on us every day. There's also an eyewitness who said the same thing. Here, let me play the video for you.
مصاب بجلل يعني قد نقول 12 ولد ولاد 10 سنين و11 سنة يعني حرام وين الأمن وين الحماية وين على الناس.
Right, so he's just saying what happened, you know, these victims are children. Where's the protection? Where's the security?
ضرب الصفارة رأسهم طلع الصاروخ فيش تواني. حزب الله أنكروا القول هذا أنه أطلقوا صاروخ اتجاهنا وأغلب الظن أنه كتبات برزيلة أنه اللي شافوه في بعض حقائق بتبين ولموا شظايا للصاروخ أو كتبات ما نزلوش اللي انصاب هوني وهذا عمل لو الصاروخ كان عامل نزل عمق أكثر من هيك. هسه كتبات برزيلة
Right, he's saying if it was a Hezbollah rocket, well, first of all, they wouldn't fire in this direction, and if it was from them, it would have caused, much more splash damage, and it's more, in all likelihood, an Israeli interceptor. And I'll show you also this excellent thread from Michael Cobbs, who follows me. And I don't know if Michael's watching right now. I've used one of his threads before, which was very clinical and surgical, like this. But I can't remember what segment it was. But when I saw his name and the way it was made, I knew it was him. So I want to just show you briefly how he reconstructed the whole thing. Okay, so here there's a video. Give me a second. So you can't see the full thread here. I'm going to pull it up on the other one so you can see all of it. All right, give me a second. So okay, I think you should be able to see it now. Yeah, so he goes through the whole thing, and this is the video. It's the only video. I think there might be a second one, but I haven't verified it yet. But you can see the strike. Okay, you can see and hear it, and he goes into analyzing the sound. So let's just watch it. Okay, so and then he talks about the Doppler effect. So that's basically when you have like a police siren or a car whizzing past you. You know how it changes pitch. So he's trying to explain that basically it's a straight line. It's not supposed to be a straight line. He says Hezbollah admit to having attacked the Hermon brigade in the Golani barracks with a Falak 1 rocket. That's a ballistic rocket. It rises to a certain height, burns out, and falls to the target, accelerated by gravity. Now, the frequency of the Doppler effect resulting from the acceleration and change in angle of the projectile to the viewer, and therefore necessarily always results in a curved shape. Okay, so it gets louder. You can see this is a spectrograph. Okay, it's a spec. It's a frequency analyzer. So it goes up, gets louder, and then it drops. But that's not what's happening. He's saying a straight line over 2 seconds suggests that the sound source is moving at a constant speed. That means with propulsion, meaning it is a rocket. Okay, so it's burning fuel. It's traveling at a constant speed. And that suggests that it's an Iron Dome rocket, an interceptor, because it relies on propulsion. Because the difference between a rocket and a missile is the rocket is, you fire it and then you can't change where it's going to land. I mean, the weather might or something else, but you can't adjust it anymore, right? You have a certain trajectory and you fire it. With a missile, the missile can change, and usually it's going to have propulsion, and it's burning up fuel and traveling. The sound is also going to be constant in this case. And so he's saying that the sound stops 0.5 seconds before the explosion. With a ballistic missile, so when it's falling, the sound is created solely by the draft of air and cannot be switched off. For an interceptor, however, it is plausible that the engine is switched off in order to stabilize the flight path. Okay, so the fact that the sound cuts off just right before the explosion, it suggests that it's a missile even more. Okay, and he gives this as an example. This is the video I just showed you in March. So, I mean, excellent thread and very clinical. It's just adding forensic evidence in addition to the fact that I told you that Hezbollah would never fire at this place. If they did, they would admit it. There is no precedent for it. They're very precise in their strikes. They have been the entire last 9 months. In addition to the photographs where there's no crater, there's no damage visible. Typical of a Hezbollah rocket. We also have the sound, which we can analyze and use to determine what happened. And also, just use your brains for a second. We're talking about Israel. What is there in this world that the Israelis have not lied about? Have they not crushed hundreds of people and then claimed that Hamas, do you remember at the Baptist hospital, Al-Ahli hospital, they killed hundreds of people and then said that it was Hamas? That a Hamas rocket did that. When has Hamas have fired thousands of rockets at Israel? When has one of those rockets ever killed hundreds of people? Ever? And now suddenly, the exact same area that we can see and we know Israel was bombing, Hamas killed hundreds of people. I mean, the things they lie about are so easily disproven. They lie about who they tell you they come from the Middle East, when the Ukrainian and Polish. There's nothing they won't lie about. They kill children every single day. You think they give a crap about Arab children? They're only trying to use this as a political piece of capital so that they can convince, you know, their patrons in the United States that they have to go and bomb Lebanon. You know, they can't start the war that they want because they're too cowardly to do it. So they need US support to help them. And now they're trying to come up with a reason. Remember, Netanyahu went to went to Congress, and he was standing there and telling them how evil Iran is and all this and that. And the Israelis know that if they attack Lebanon, Iran is going to help. And so they need the Americans. They need the Americans to approve. And I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, also the fact that it's a Druze community. The Israelis would love nothing more than to see Hezbollah and the Druze community, again, the largest one is in Syria and the second largest in Lebanon, okay? So it's significant. The Israelis would love nothing more than to see the Israelis would love nothing more than to see Druze and Hezbollah fighting with each other, or, you know, public support turning against Hezbollah. Oh, look how reckless you are. Oh, you're attacking Arabs now. Oh, you're denying it and refusing to take responsibility. You're shameless and dishonest. Blah 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 blah. And of course the best one, which is you're gonna start a war, and you know you're gonna bring Israeli bombs and onto have them rain down onto us. I mean, there's a lot of political infighting to be gained from blaming this on Hezbollah and convincing Arabs and Lebanese people that that's true. So, look, I mean, the people in the town itself, in Majdal Shams, are saying it was Israel. And you can see here, Shmotrich, okay? Again, what a Middle Eastern name, Shmotrich. So Middle Eastern, it's just, it exudes with Palestinianness. So, he tried to go there. Okay, this is the finance minister, the Israeli finance minister. He tried to go to the funeral today, and they chased him away. 1 second. You should be able to see it now. So, they've been looking for a reason this whole time to have a war with Lebanon, because Hezbollah have been humiliating Israel militarily, destroying all of these towers that they have and all these expensive sensors and microphones and surveillance equipment, their electronic warfare, their radar systems. All of them have been destroyed, systematically over the last months. Billions and billions and billions of dollars just, gone down the toilet. They've shot down their drones. They've shot down their early warning and reconnaissance systems, these Sky Star and Sky Dew balloons. They've shot down the operators of the balloons at the same time. They've destroyed their Iron Dome batteries, the command and control centers, the radar. I mean, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. They've set the settlements on fire. They've pushed the entire line back into Israeli quote unquote territory. So there's nothing that Hezbollah, have left to humiliate the Israelis with. And so now, they think, okay, this is a good opportunity to paint the Israelis as victims. May I just point out the irony of this being a football field? So when I and, others and myself are criticizing Israeli athletes for being soldiers, for supporting the genocide in Gaza, and for breaking the impartiality rules of athletes at the Olympics, and exposing the fact that they have murdered hundreds of Palestinian footballers and destroyed Palestinian football fields. All of a sudden, there's, so-called quote, Israelis. These are not Israelis, they're Syrians, but they claim Israelis being hit in a soccer field, in a football field. I mean, the chances of that happening at the same time everyone is saying Israel should be banned from the Olympics are astronomical. They're just astronomical, right? And a children's football field on top of it, like out of all the football fields in Israel, it's astronomical that this would happen. And we're supposed to just believe that. I'm not necessarily suggesting, it's a false flag or something, because the Iron Dome is crap. It literally does fail. I showed you evidence of that. So it's completely, entirely possible that the Iron Dome just, by accident hit that. But it doesn't mean that it was Hezbollah, okay? And the Israelis would absolutely use this, try to capitalize off of it, and find an excuse to go in and bomb Lebanon and level Beirut and do whatever else they want with the Americans. So absolutely, entirely possible that they would do that. Just like they took advantage of Al-Aqsa flood on October 7th to start a genocide. Why wouldn't they use this as an opportunity as well? Especially when they have morons like these people in German media who can't read maps. Who can't read maps and don't know anything about the Middle East and are just making up this idea that this is Israel and these are Israelis. I mean, of course, who better than Western journalists to fall for this crap? So, the Israelis now, they're copying what Iran did with keeping people guessing. So you remember when Israel bombed the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Iran did not strike immediately. Iran gave time, to the United Nations Security Council to hash it out diplomatically. They wouldn't even apologize, nothing. They waited for 2 weeks and they kept the Israelis guessing and guessing and guessing what's going to happen, keep them on edge. I think that the Israelis are trying to copy that strategy and keep Hezbollah and Lebanon and the world on edge by not, playing their hand and revealing their plans too soon. I mean, again, it's only been 24 hours or a little over 24 hours, but nevertheless, you remember when Yemen struck Tel Aviv, or Jaffa as it's actually called, and has been called for thousands of years. They went and bombed Hodeidah immediately, right? And that was way more humiliating and actually happened, in so-called Israel. It actually took place in occupied Palestine. So, I think they're trying to copy that, and this is just I love this so much that the families told Netanyahu to go to hell. I think that's so funny, and not just him but Smotrich also at the funeral. I find that so funny. It's what I'm talking about when I tell you that Druze are very patriotic. This is exactly what I mean. Is that they're not going to go and blame Hezbollah. They're not going to go and start believing lies because it's expedient. They're not going to pretend that they're Israelis. No, they're very clear about where they stand. And watching this dirtbag, talk is just so funny.
In a soccer field in Majdal Shams in northern Israel, Hezbollah then lied
Hezbollah
to the whole world and claimed they did not carry out this attack. This is a lie. We can confirm that Hezbollah...
Okay, just to remind you, this is the same man who pointed at a calendar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the days of the week, and said that this is a hostage nannying schedule for Hamas fighters. This is the same man. So I wouldn't take anything that he says seriously at all. Not even one, we don't need a grain of salt. We need kilos of salt, okay? Once again, you remember he went into Gaza on the ground and he pointed at a calendar, just an Arabic calendar with the days of the week, and said it's a hostage nannying schedule. I think he was pointing at a bunch of toilet seats and saying that this is a tunnel entrance or something.
Murdered 10 children in this brutal attack and injured more than 20.
So about children, the same day, not only did the Israelis kill children in general, okay? Not only did they kill Palestinian children in general, Arab children in general, but they also killed another player, okay? They killed another Palestinian child in Gaza who plays for football clubs. So they managed to further damage a youth football academy in Gaza in the same morning and kill another Palestinian child who's a football star. So, you know, I find this very difficult to believe that the Israelis care about dead Arab children playing on a football field when all they do is bomb Arab children every single day, literally 24 hours a day. Literally, every day. Again, the primary victims in Gaza are children and women. That's a statistical fact. We have their names. So this is, you know, there are 20,000 children missing, by the way, missing. Okay? So those are not counted in the dead, just to be vigilant and rigorous. They're not even counted. They're missing. No one knows where they are. They're likely dead, though. So I don't buy any of this. I don't buy any of this. I think the Israelis want to start a war with Lebanon. They, you know, if they do that, though, they're morons, because look how difficult it is for them in Gaza to, you know, penetrate the defenses of the Qassam brigades and the other brigades that are fighting against them, the PFLP, Islamic Jihad. They have failed within the last 9 months to accomplish a single military objective, a single one. Okay? They have failed. And Hamas and the other brigades are living under siege. They're surrounded, right? They're pinned down by air, by land, by sea. Whereas you look at Hezbollah did not have the same challenges. Hezbollah were able to kick out the Israelis from South Lebanon. They liberated it. They were able to, you know, wipe the floor with them in 2006 again. And since then, they've been building up their arsenal, building more tunnels. Just, you know, they have, just by virtue of not being under siege also, they have far more capabilities than Hamas do. So if the Israelis are struggling in Gaza this much, what do you think is going to happen when it comes to Hezbollah? I mean, I told you, I listed to you all the things they've done in the last months, with the Iron Dome, with the Sky Star and the Sky Dew, with the radar towers and the surveillance and the settlements, setting them on fire. You know, hundreds of thousands, at least 100,000. I think the number is double. But at least 100,000 Israeli settlers have been evacuated from the border, so-called border with Lebanon. So it's putting an enormous strain on their economy. It's an enormous military humiliation, and Hezbollah are achieving their political goals of helping the Palestinians. So, you know, if they really want to start a war with Lebanon, I mean, be my guest, because that's really going to be the final nail in the coffin for this colony. I'm telling you, it's the final nail in the coffin. They are going to wipe the Israelis out like nothing you have seen in history. Do you know all the petrochemical sites where the Israelis store all these flammable, very, very flammable materials? Hezbollah published a video last month with their drone, which is an undetectable surveillance drone, as a message to the Israelis, like, we have eyes on Haifa. We can see your military ships. We can see your you know, economic sites. We can see all the storage facilities. We will blow them sky high if you try anything, if you change the rules of engagement, if you change the equation, if you try to escalate. These are going, okay? They're going up in smoke and up in flames. And then they filmed the spy base in on Mount Hermon, which, you know, they've struck before. Actually, Iran wiped it out on April 13th, and Hezbollah hit it again, and they filmed it for good measure, because the Israelis love going and rebuilding it all the time. So they can hit the spy bases, the economic sites, the ports, and then on top of that, they filmed the Air Force Base, the Ramat David Air Force Base, which used to be an RAF base and now is an Israeli Air Force Base, and published the name of the commander. I mean, like, these are messages to the Israelis that we can see you and we can hit you in places you never thought possible, and our intelligence is good. We know who is running the bases, even we have their photographs and their names. You know, you got Israeli troops in the base who don't even know the commander's real name, and then Hezbollah are just publishing it. So we're not dealing with Hezbollah of 2006 or the 1990s. This is Hezbollah 2024. It's a completely different beast. You know, it's the best armed and best trained non-state army in the world. In the world. They have the biggest arsenal. They have the best fighters. Just look at, you know, what they've done. So if Israel want to go ahead and have Haifa up in flames, I mean, okay, be my guest. Really, be my guest, because to quote an Israeli military official, this war will be over in 24 hours. That's how bad Hezbollah are going to wipe the Israelis, wipe the floor with the Israelis, rather. So go ahead, and especially if you're going to do it over Syrians. I mean, wow, what an honor. It's the first time in history the Israelis actually retaliate for dead Syrians instead of going and, adding insult to injury. But I mean, this is something else. It's going to be adding injury to themselves. Really just amazing, really amazing that they pretend to care. I'm sorry, but there's no way on earth you're convincing me that a Hezbollah rocket did that. You would know if it was a Hezbollah rocket. Trust me, you would. So I think we can put that story to bed, okay? This was not Hezbollah. In all likelihood, this was Israel. And by the way, when I said before that there's a third possibility, which is a very remote possibility, but it could be, who knows? Maybe someone from Syria fired it. Again, this is the Golan Heights, right? It's in Syria. But I doubt it because, again, who would be firing at Majdal Shams from inside Syria? That makes literally no sense. So, I mean, we could also list a million possibilities. We could say it was aliens from outer space who also drone striked it. I mean, we could sit here and come up with a million fantasies. But at the end of the day, the highest likelihood is that this was Israel. Their Iron Dome sucks. Their Iron Dome has misfired on this town before. The Israelis do not care about Arab children. They are happy to kill Arab children. They do it every single day. And they are liars of the highest order. They lie about everything. They lie about who they are. They lie about the history of their colony. They call it, they changed the whole damn name. They lie about UNRWA, being infiltrated by Hamas. They lie about Hezbollah every other day. What lie is there that they haven't told? Okay, what is there that they haven't told? I mean, it's insane. Even the other day, Netanyahu was standing in Congress and saying, how many casualties, civilian casualties in Rafah? Practically none. Those are the words he said, practically none. I mean, okay, yeah, you go live in your fantasy. And if you want a war, then just start the war. Stop, pussyfooting and beating around the bush. Just start the war. If you really want a war, just start the war. Okay, Hezbollah, the men in Hezbollah will put you back in your place. Just do it. Come on, stop wasting time and get this over with, all right? Idiots. So I just want to bring your attention to something because this is a fundraiser for children in Gaza, displaced children and children who are disabled. And they're 88% of the way to their goal. So please, if you can, please donate and help them get there. I know the organizer of the fundraiser, and here you see that they're 88% of the way. Please help them get there. I know that we can do it. You guys contributed so much, and it's really appreciated, and it goes directly to the children there. So please donate if you can. I'm putting the link in the live stream chat, and there you go. There's also 2 more charities, Christian charities in Palestine that you can donate to. They're also in the description and in the chat. So again, it's just astonishing to me, that they can't even tell you with a straight face that this is Israeli occupied. And that shows you how nefarious the media are, because they won't even tell you a basic fact of international law, that this is the whole UN. Again, I'm going to show you the just so you can see the countries, with your own eyes. You can see 242 and 497. Even the United States voted, the whole United Nations Security Council, every single of the 15 members said, yes, this is Syria and you have to leave. Okay? Unanimously approved. This is 242, which is get out of the Golan Heights, get out of all the occupied territories. And then if we look up 497, the same exact thing. Okay? Oops, I went to the wrong one. 497. Okay? 15 in favor, all of them in favor. Get out of the Golan Heights. This land does not belong to you. It's Syria. Null and void. Those are the exact words. So, the Israelis don't care for international law. They illegally annexed the Golan Heights, and then they try to impose themselves on others. And they did the same thing, by the way, in the 1980s. This is 1980 and 1981. They annexed the Golan Heights in Syria, and they illegally annexed Jerusalem as well. So, wherever they go, they steal land, and they're always trying to steal land. But now it's going to go in the other direction. Now everything is going in the other direction. like I was saying before, the front with Hezbollah, with Lebanon, has been pushed down, not up, down. Do you understand? There are no more Israeli settlers in the north. They are gone. They are evacuated. The only people there are Israeli soldiers. Well, I mean, what's the difference? They're all in the army. They have to join the army. But what I'm saying is the the ones that are not serving right now, they are put up in hotels. Okay, the settlements are empty, and that has never happened before. Never ever happened before. In addition to that, the Israelis can't hold any ground because they're busy fighting fires. They're busy, the civil service and the civil defense. They can't even keep up. They bring firefighters to Kiryat Shimona, then they're off to another settlement the next day, or rather the next hour. They can't control the fires, let alone the incoming fire, pun intended. So, they have no idea what they're doing, and they are in big trouble. So if they want to start a war, I mean, good luck, really. Actually, bad luck. Bad luck, definitely. So let me show you something else from the front lines, which is quite incredible. Okay. So we have more astonishing footage. And again, I just want to, before I continue, hold on, give me a second. I know you guys sent in some questions and donations, so I'll just read them to you. And thank you for supporting me again, because they demonetized the channel. They're punishing me for criticizing Israel. So if you're able to donate, please do that, because this is my main way of earning money. This is how I started everything. So if you can donate on PayPal and Patreon and Rumble, I would greatly appreciate it, or on GoFundMe. These are some of the things that you guys sent in. We've got one on PayPal from Haluk. Thank you, Haluk. I appreciate it. I don't see a note, nevertheless. And Nalida as well. Thank you very much for the donation. And here's another one from Amanda. Says, support a great journalist. Thank you, Amanda. You're very kind. We also have one from Yasser, who says, great independent journalism. Thank you. And we have another from Peter. Also no note, but nevertheless, thank you very much, Peter. So, and Akram. I'll put the donation links in the chat, and let's continue. I've got some more things to show you from the front lines. So, I mean, Donald Trump sat there, and he's talking to Netanyahu. Actually, I'll show you the clip afterwards. I'll show you the thing afterwards. But Drixco is saying, Zios love to watch you, Richard. Yes, I know. I think love is not the verb I would have chosen, but so you guys see this? You see the hold on. You should be able to see it now. Okay, so this is latest footage from the front lines, and again, some very, very staggering things going on here. So let me play the first clip for you.
جاب الحلو عشان يجي ياخذ التصوير وهنا تحلينا بس حبيبي هي مسلسلاتنا هي مثلثاتنا
Okay, so I mean, that transition was incredible, honestly. He was saying we just, we got some dessert, we just ate dessert, and we've got these triangles with us. The red triangles are for the Israelis. And then it transitions into the marker, and then they hit them. They hit the tank with the Yasin 105. So here they are. They're carrying. Yeah, they're carrying more of their Yasins. So again, these are locally made, locally produced equivalents of the Russian RPG-7. Same thing, they're rocket-propelled grenades. They're meant to be fired at armored vehicles, but you can fire them at anything, really. There goes the bulldozer. There, another tank, a third one.
ضربناهم بآلية، ضربنا شباب ضربوا آليتين 3 آليات لحتى انا لسه عمام ما لهمش ساعتين متقدمين، ايش بدهم منا هيك؟
يا اخو ما تعلموش
يقتلهم.
So he's saying, you know, we blew up one tank, then a second, then a third. The boys have been firing at the tanks for a while. He's basically saying, you know, he's basically making a joke. He's saying we're bored. We want infantry to shoot at. And there you can see a group of Israeli soldiers. I mean, they look at this idiot staring up. It's like they're so clueless. They don't even know where they are. And this is not the first video we've seen like this. I mean, they just walk around like a bunch of clueless, headless idiots. It's incredible, really. Now he's creeping up like a cat. Yeah, so to me that looks like a it looks like a Russian PKM. Okay, that's what it looks like. I don't know, it's very short, but nevertheless. Now they go and ambush them. Do you understand now why Israelis drop bombs on people? Because they can't fight on you know, on the ground. They just run away like cowards. They can't fight. I mean, if they could fight, they would publish the videos, right? Just like, you know, Hamas and Syria al-Quds and Hezbollah publish their videos. Yes, obviously it's propaganda, but at the same time, I mean, you can't deny that it's valuable combat journalism. It just is. It's a guy running around with a camera filming, and we are watching. It's combat journalism. There's no narration. I mean, you know, there's nothing, you know, that's there to change what your eyes are seeing. It is what it is. The Israelis have nothing to show. They have like 5 videos, I think, that I've seen since October 7th, and 5 is already a lot. I think it was 3. So let's say 5. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even though they don't deserve it. 5 videos where, you know, they which purportedly show them fighting in Gaza, but you can't see what they're shooting at. You don't know what they're shooting at. They could literally be standing in an empty building shooting at thin air. Knowing the Israelis, they're probably shooting at children. That's what they're likely doing. But you can't see what they're shooting at and who they're shooting at, which, you know, to me is just pathetic. What's the point of showing us that? You know, what is this, an action movie? At least show us some real action. But they have nothing. They have no military victories to speak of. So here now they're going to fire at this Israeli helicopter. It's an attack helicopter. And they're going to fire at it with SAM-7s, which are surface-to-air missiles. These are shoulder-fired, you know, similar to Stinger missiles. Yeah, and now you see, these are countermeasures. They're flares. Okay, so if you're in the pilot seat and the co-pilot seat, if someone is on the ground and they fire a missile at you, actually even before they fire, you can tell that you're being locked onto. You'll get a warning, and then another warning when the missile is coming at you. So what you do is you release the countermeasures because, as you can see, they're very hot. The point of them is to mimic the heat from the engine on the aircraft to confuse the missile, because the mechanism, the locking mechanism inside the missile is going to think that each one of these is a helicopter because they produce the same temperature as the aircraft. So that's the idea. You just confuse the heat-seeking mechanism. Yeah, I mean, until now, I haven't seen a successful downing of an Israeli aircraft in Gaza, but I mean, I'm telling you, the Israelis are primarily an aerial power, right? They can't fight on the ground because they're cowards, and they can't, I mean, there's nothing to fight by sea for now. So the only thing they can do is drop bombs on people. Now you see what Yemen and Hezbollah are doing with their drones. My prediction is that if things really, flare up, no pun intended, but if they haven't, heated up enough for you, if we go into a real war, I have a prediction that we're going to see Israeli aircraft being shot down by new technology that has never been used, and it's being saved for a rainy day. And there's going to be nothing they can do about it. Nothing. So that's one of the one of the latest videos. Here's another one.
الثاني سنتبه إذا في وراء ولا لا.
يلا صابر أول ما تقول
خليها تقدم شوي خليها تقدم شوي. بسم الله الله أكبر. بسم الله الله أكبر.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is gone. That thing is gone. The Israelis are always complaining, well, how come the screen goes black when when Hezbollah fire their ATGMs, or the camera's shaking sometimes, like as if there's a possibility that, okay, the Israeli tank wasn't really taken out. Like they're firing firecrackers at the Israelis, and the Israeli tank is so powerful, the Merkava trophy system clicks up and repels everything. It's this same propaganda, like Israel is the best, they're the chosen people, they have the best spies, the best technology, they're the best at everything. Nothing can happen to them, right? Well, yeah, that's not true. And you can see right here that thing is gone. That armored vehicle, that tank is cooked. I mean, if you had any doubts whatsoever, it's cooked, right? There's no way about it. I mean, it's gone. That thing is gone. It was right underneath it. I mean, sometimes you see the mines or the IEDs going off slightly to the side. This was right underneath it. It's cooked. Forget it. At the beginning of the clip, so they said that they are also going to snipe. Basically, they're sniping an Israeli soldier in collaboration with Sarai al-Quds, who are the armed wing of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So again, they make it sound like Hamas are the only people on earth who exist in Gaza, which is not true. And then they make it sound like they're the only militants in Gaza, which is also not true. You have the PFLP, you've got the Palestinian Resistance Committee, you've got the Nasr ad-Din, you've got Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So you've got at least 5 factions, and there are more. So here, hold on, let me go back just a second. I mean, that flash, honestly, I don't know if that was just a round. The first time I saw the clip, I was like, what do they mean by sniping? That looked like a bloody, a grenade launcher. And they just technically, sniped him by just hitting it right into the window. But I think it's just it could be just the ricochet or an incendiary round. So in any case, here's the next one. This is they're planning where to shell with mortars now.
هذه الأثناء نقوم بدك قوات العدو الصهيوني التي أعادت توغلها شرق مدينة خان يونس، اللهم في سبيلك وابتغاء مرضاتك ونصرة لدينك. الله أكبر الله.
So incredible footage. I mean, really incredible footage, and it's simply incredible that you know, the Israelis want you to think that, you know, these people don't know what they're doing, and you know, all they care about is endangering civilians. And you know, it's the same kind of mentality that you see them express now with this Majdal Shams thing, right? Like, Hezbollah is so dangerous. They are shelling Druze villages in towns in Syria, or Israel, as they want you to believe, and they're endangering all of Lebanon. And Hamas in Gaza are endangering civilians because they always, you know, hide themselves among civilians and fire from civilian areas. What a ridiculous thing to say. These are guerrilla fighters, okay? So first of all, international law says clearly that you don't even have to wear the uniform. If you are unable to wear a uniform as a guerrilla fighter, you don't have to. Your civilian clothes are fine. You know why? Because these are not conventional armed forces. They won't even allow the Palestinians to have a state, and they expect them to have conventional armed forces with uniforms. I mean, this is ridiculous. They won't even allow them to import you know, the things that they want into Gaza. They control every item. So, you know, this idea that they should have just made uniforms and you know, imported the materials under the watch of the Israelis so that later it's easier for Israel to kill them. I mean, this is ridiculous. International law is on the side of Hezbollah, of Hamas. It just is. It's not an opinion. It is the law. It's a very objective, you know, fact that they are well within their rights to fight the Israelis. They are national liberation movement. They're resistance fighters, and they're guerrilla fighters. That's it. There's, you know, no amount of yelling terrorists is going to change anything. That's not a thing. Okay, so even if you want to believe, that they have committed war crimes in some capacity, which again is not true, but even if you want to believe that, it doesn't change the overall reality that they're still resistance fighters. Okay, because they want to make you believe that on October 7, Hamas committed war crimes and so on. Again, where's the evidence? There's no evidence for that. We have evidence of Israeli war crimes, but you know, you're not allowed to say anything about the Israelis. Everything is legitimate. Israel can kill hundreds, you know, of thousands of Palestinians, and they're still legitimate, right? They have a right to exist. They have a right to defend themselves. Why is that not the case with the Palestinians? It's their land. It's really their land. They're not from Ukraine. Anyway, I just wanted to add that in addition to the footage. But you know, in terms of the combat journalism, and you know, even if the Israelis want to call it propaganda, well, guess what? It's effective, and Israel's is not effective. It's crap. There is none. So what does that say? I mean, the whole reason why more and more people are supporting Palestine now is precisely because the Israelis have not moved past the 1980s. Everything they say about Palestine is old, regurgitated garbage. They're still, you know, yelling anti-Semite at people. I mean, they don't know how to confront the fact that we have the internet, that we can see what's going on. They you know, they're exposed. I'll show you another video now from Gaza of a series. Okay, this is a series of clips that are called Death Trap, and you can see that it's a room essentially booby trapped. And they're waiting for the Israelis to come in. Give me a second to pull it up. Okay, here it is. So this is part 2, actually. I suppose I better show you part 1 and then part 2. Okay, give me a second to find part 1. Okay, hold on. Where am I going to get this now? Okay. Yeah, so actually we've got 3 videos, 3 of them, and they're all quite self-explanatory. So this is part 1. Okay, and I'll pull it up on the screen for you now. Okay, so here's part one. This is part one of the Death Trap series. So essentially what they've done is they've booby-trapped a structure in Gaza, knowing that the Israelis are going to come in. And what they're doing is they're lining the place with explosives, and they're using cameras. So these are cameras that you would use usually to, for parking in reverse. You'll find them in cars. So again, it's quite ingenious what they're doing, and you can see that these people are actually defending themselves. They're not in it to make money. They're not in it to profit off of war. They're using their wits and their brains to fashion tools for them to defend themselves in their homes, literally. So these are cameras from cars that they've taken and repurposed into surveillance devices so they can booby trap invading Israeli forces. Yeah, so there you go. That was the. This is the second angle, okay? No, hold on. This is the second load. One, yeah, hold on. Yeah, so when the screen went black, that's when the bomb was set off. That's why there's nothing being broadcast anymore. Now, here you can see the Israeli troops coming in. 3 of them, then 4, then 5. It's a whole squad. What's incredible is that one of them starts, it looks like he starts to realize that there's a camera there. And he comes in with his flashlight, but then it's too late. Okay, you'll see in a second. There he is. So you've got 9 of them. And then the screen goes black, meaning they set off the explosive device, the booby trap was activated, and the camera, along with the invading Israeli forces, is kaput, to use a word from Yiddish. So this is part 2. And this one features a dog, a canine, military army dog. Yeah, you can see the barrel that's being dragged here. They're essentially trying to once again fashion tools to defend themselves with out of their environment. So what they've taken is a barrel usually used for water, and they've put rocks inside of it, and then there's an explosive charge inserted so that when the explosive, the plastic explosive goes off, or the mine, it creates, the rocks become shrapnel. They just blast everywhere, which is what would happen with a conventional artillery round or ordnance or grenade. You have tiny pieces going everywhere, and that's what ends up killing people. You can see one canine.
لا صاروا 4. هاي تعال اسرع.
حضرت؟
كبشه صاروا كبشه
هاي كيف بصور؟ صاروا قديش؟
كبشه يمكن الحين ستة وهي السابع.
بص بص بص. بسرعة بسرعة.
I mean, they just keep coming.
فجر.
Right, so he said blow it, and then it goes black. I mean, again, you have to understand the camera is in the room with the soldiers, so obviously when the bomb goes off, the camera is broken. Yeah, so that's why there's nothing to show. And here this is the second one, so you can see them manufacturing the IED, the improvisory explosive device.
يظنون البلاد بلا حماة تعالوا وانظروا جيش اليبادة نصر الله العلي العظيم رب العرش الكريم الناس بصدور قوم المؤمنين الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. هي الجند طلع. هيو يرجع. هي تنجا. الله أكبر فجر.
So that they found the entrance to the tunnel, but they didn't live long enough to tell anyone. So one of you in the comments said, what is this, a home invasion? Yeah, I was literally about to say the same thing. I mean, the idea that you, as a Palestinian, you're supposed to watch like a gang, literally a gang of armed thugs going into your house and just like accept that is I mean, outrageous. How dare anyone expect that of Palestinians? They can go to hell. They can go to hell, okay? When you come with machine guns and army dogs into someone's house, you're going to face resistance, okay? That's it. These are not, the police. This is not the army. This is an invading foreign occupation. These people come from Ukraine, from who knows where, into the houses of Palestinians in Gaza. They're going to face resistance. And just, you saw from these couple of videos how many casualties. Do you really believe the Israelis are telling the truth when they say that a few hundred soldiers have been lost since October 7th? A few hundred. They lost 300. That's, again, what they claim. I think it's much higher. They say 300 on October 7 alone. And we're supposed to believe that since then, I think, what is it? What do they put it at? 600 extra? I don't buy that for 1 second. I don't buy that for 1 second. If you look at the wounded, the number of wounded, you can usually calculate or extrapolate from the number of wounded how many dead. Okay? And here, let me just pull that up in front of you. Okay, so they're saying it's in June they were saying that 298 Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza and 650 in total. Okay, so that's with Lebanon included, with the Lebanese front. Do you really believe that number? I don't buy that for 1 second. I don't buy that for 1 second. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And if you look at the number of wounded, you'll see also where's it at? So, yeah, here they put it at they say I think it's 15,000 wounded, something like that. Yeah, so I'm trying to find the number. I can't find it for some reason. I don't know why it's not popping up. Ridiculous. These numbers are too old. They're coming up from November. We don't want November. We want June. July. Yeah, so this one is from... Jesus. Okay, that... So look at this. This is... Israeli military disability count surpasses 70,000. Okay? And they're saying 8,600 wounded in Gaza since October 7. Okay? I mean, I just fail to understand how you have 8,000 wounded and only 600 killed. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. That number should be higher. And if you've got 70,000 on disability, you really expect us to believe only 8,000 are from Gaza. These numbers, they just don't add up. You know what I mean? There's something odd about them. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, just looking at the number of videos and what's coming out, where you can clearly see what's going on. There's a tank blown up. There's there's a troop carrier, an APC taken out. How is it possible that all of those videos add up to just a few hundred? It doesn't make sense. Okay, so if you look at the ratio. All right, you look at the ratio of IDF soldiers, like who are severely wounded, yeah? The ratio of severely wounded IDF, and then you compare that to the number of those who are killed. How is it, 3 times higher, 4 times higher than what you would find in a different combat zone? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, okay? There's another video I wanted to show you. This one is also from the last couple of days. Okay, that one is, we already had that one. And this one is... Okay, so this one is in the West Bank, okay? It's not from Gaza, forgive me. I'm going to show you what happened and take a look at the result. Okay, so you've got a fence, and the first thing that happens is the resistance set off a charge, okay? So they're preparing the charges here and the booby traps. Okay, so the fence is blown up, and they know that the Israeli army is going to send someone to fix it now. there goes the booby trap. So now they've injured 2 of them. Now more of them are checking what's going on. So triple ambush. Okay, they got the fence first, then the repairmen, and who are in the Israeli forces, and then the third one took out another. I mean, again, this is near Jenin in the West Bank, but also done by Hamas. I mean, Hamas don't have any large political presence in the West Bank, like in Gaza, but they have some, militants there, just like you have some who are, former Fatah or in the Nasr ad-Din brigades in Gaza, right? And they work together, there's no beef or anything like that. So again, you can see how clinical and how surgical and how precise all of these operations are. They're documented, they're recorded, they're filmed, they're timed. These people don't make mistakes. And in addition to that, I'm referring to what happened in Majdal Shams generally now, as the resistance in general, right? Because you can say the same about both Hezbollah and Hamas. But in addition to that, this is not the same Palestinian or Arab resistance that the Israelis are used to fighting. They're not used to this. And it's not just the fact we are seeing it, but, they've become too arrogant, the Israelis. They thought, okay, internationally they can get away with bombing, flattening Gaza, and no one is going to say anything like usual. They were wrong. And militarily, so not just politically and internationally, but militarily also wrong. They thought that, this is going to be like usual. They just go into Gaza and trample on everybody and, crush it and then leave. And they're facing the harshest resistance that they've ever encountered. And it's happening on multiple fronts. So everything is changing now. Everything is changing. It's a completely different world, and it's rapidly shifting. Thank you to Just Someone for joining on Patreon and supporting my work. And thank you to Kadri as well. And I'll play a crowd dance for you momentarily. We also have a donation here. Actually, we have several donations on PayPal. We've got one from Yusuf. It says, for YouTube demonetizing your channel. Thank you very much, Yusuf. I appreciate it. And we also got another contribution from Hamad. Thank you. And a further contribution from... so this is from... Ghazi says, I have a 85-year-old friend born in Palestine before Israel was founded. He still has his key and papers to his home. Thank you for speaking the truth. That's incredible. Thank you, and for sharing that. And there are many Palestinians who have the same story. They've got the papers to prove this is their house. They've got the keys to the house, but they've been ethnically cleansed and turned into refugees, and their children are refugees, and their grandchildren are refugees. It's disgusting what they've done to the Palestinians. It's really disgusting what the Israelis have done. Thank you, Hassan, for the donation, and thank you also to... we've got another one here on PayPal from... Sorry, it's just refreshing. From Jones. Thank you very much, Jones. So I promised a crab dance. I shall oblige, and then we shall continue.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you.
والله انقلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not...
I've fallen and I can't get up. Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live! Why attack Sanders? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you!
Again, thank you to everyone who's supporting the show. I really appreciate it. Please donate on PayPal, on Patreon, GoFundMe, and Rumble. If you can, because they punished me for criticizing Israel, already demonetized the channel back in October. So the main way that I make money, so basically how you guys support my work on YouTube independently, has been, blocked permanently. So, that's what they... I mean, it's a form of censorship, let's be clear. Yeah, so just to... Look, this is from today, okay? This is from the Times of Israel from today. And they're saying that the latest death toll, okay, is, hold on, where was it? 331. Okay, so Israel's toll in the ground offensive against Hamas in Gaza and in military operations along the border stands at 331. I mean, if you believe that, you're a sucker. I must have seen at least 331 taken out in the videos alone. I don't buy that for 1 minute. If you count the... And they've been saying that figure for months now. It hasn't changed. Like it maybe changed by a few units, but that's it, right? By single digits. It hasn't changed dramatically. I don't buy that for 1 second. Please, that's a joke. I guarantee you it's in the thousands. I guarantee you. And let me be clear. It's normal for any army in the world to understate its losses. Deflate them and inflate its gains or wins. Fine. But this is just ridiculous. Okay, that's way too low. You're basically telling us that you're lying. That's what you're saying. When it comes to Hamas and Hezbollah, they proudly announce who has been killed. They say they're martyrs. Okay, so we have an estimate through that way. But anyway, here I just wanted to take a second. Okay, just to say a few words. Yeah, so I just wanted to say a few words about Alison Mason, who passed away in the last few days. She was an Australian. She was really dedicated to Julian Assange's cause. I met her in London. She was very kind to me. She was very nice. She gave me a few copies of the the WikiLeaks newspaper to keep, and that was very, very kind of her. And she was very supportive. And here Stella Assange says, very sad to hear that Alison Mason, great organizer and fierce activist for Julian's freedom, has passed away. Our condolences to her friends and loved ones. And here she is also getting arrested. I mean, just really passionate and consistent, always turning up in Piccadilly Circus and in front of Belmarsh Prison, and a real one. And I'm just happy that she got to live long enough, at least, to see Julian Assange freed, because we all wanted to see that, but we never thought it would happen, and it actually did. So at least one piece of good news in the recent news cycle, but very sad to hear that she passed away. God rest her soul, and she's a real freedom fighter, consistent, dedicated, passionate. Rest in peace, Alison. Rest in peace. So I thought I'd also talk to you about Syria. Let's talk about al-Assad. So you have a shift in foreign policy happening in the European Union now. You've got several countries that have finally realized that the coup, the regime change operation in Syria failed, and al-Assad is going nowhere. So they've now decided to reestablish ties. There's a rapprochement, as it's called, and I'll show you just in a second the list of countries. I put it out yesterday. So we've got Italy, we've got Austria, we've got the Czech Republic, Cyprus, Greece, Slovenia, and Slovakia, and Croatia. So Italy just appointed an ambassador to Syria, for example. So it's a very significant shift, and they're doing this at the same time that Turkey is also trying to reestablish ties with Syria. And Erdogan has said that he wants to meet al-Assad. Al-Assad has refused because his country is being occupied by Turkey. All of the north, and especially Idlib, is under Turkish occupation, to the point that they don't even use Syrian lira, Syrian pounds anymore. They're using a Turkish currency inside of Syria, right? So that's the stranglehold that they've got on the country. And al-Assad said clearly, if you want us to meet, I'll meet you, but after you pull out your troops from Syria. Remember, Turkish troops are NATO troops. So you've got Turkish troops in the northwest in Idlib, and then if you look in the northeast and the east of the country in Hasaka Deir ez-Zor, you have the Americans, so another NATO country, and then in the south you've got the Israelis occupying the Golan Heights, right? So basically Syria is like cut into 4, 5, 6 pieces, depending on if you count ISIS and Al Tanaf air base, which is like a mix, and of course the regular Syrian Arab army, which now has taken back most of the country. But nevertheless, you see there's a change in policy, and I think it's due to several reasons. I think one, it's just, they realized that they failed. They were not able to change the government in Syria with regime change, with, sanctions. It doesn't work. And then in addition to that, maybe I'm just, doing analysis now, and it's just speculation, but it could have something to do with Gaza. You're seeing the United States signal that they, might want to talk about the nuclear deal again, which they ditched 2 years ago. I was covering that in Vienna. They were close to signing it. They had a draft ready. Everything was almost done. And then, the war in Ukraine started. And anyway, now they're talking about that again. And I think that also has something to do with Gaza. I think what they're trying to do perhaps is appease Syria and Iran and show them that, European and American diplomats are willing to deal with you and maybe lift sanctions. And they're thinking or hoping, they're trying to do that for Israel's sake, so that, maybe they think in their heads that Syria and Iran will give less support for the resistance, or that they're going to tell the resistance to calm and cool things down in Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Hamas in Gaza. That's not going to happen. It's not happening. It would really be a significant shift in foreign policy for them to do that. It's also domestic policy, but anyway, I don't see that happening. They could try, but I think it's unlikely. Maybe it's got nothing to do with Gaza. Again, it's just I'm just speculating here. It's just analysis. So I think when it comes to Turkey, especially, and the European Union, they also have economic interests. You have to remember that Syria is the last country in the chain that actually can bridge the Mediterranean Sea with the rest of Asia. So then you go into Iraq, then you're into Iran, and then you've got Afghanistan, and you've got China, you've got Russia, you've got all these countries that have signed up for the Belt and Road Initiative and the New Silk Road, who need to have maritime access to the Mediterranean Sea. Beirut doesn't have a port; it's gone mysteriously. Syria has Latakia port, which has been bombed by Israel, but nevertheless, it's more or less functional. It's got a much larger coast. and it's going to play a big part in that chain with the railroad, especially the new one with Iraq and Iran. So there's a lot going on, and at the same time as all this is happening, and they're publicly indicating the shift, you have al-Assad, who is in Moscow meeting with Putin. So that was just a few days ago. You can see them here. Yeah, here. So this is from 2 days ago, and I mean, if we just look at the agenda between Russia and Syria, they have defense agreements, and there's also much larger cooperation going back a couple of decades. But I think what they're doing now is, you have Turkey trying to mend ties with Syria, but Assad is going a meeting with Putin to talk about Turkey first and foremost, because Russia has good ties with Turkey, just as Iran does, actually. They have very good relationship with Turkey, and you have tons of Russian tourists who go to Turkey all the time. When they put sanctions on Russia, they expanded, they basically expanded the infrastructure inside of Turkey so that they could use their Mir cards. Which these are basically Visa and MasterCard. You could still use them, but only inside of Russia. So if you're a Russian tourist in Turkey, your Visa card, your MasterCard, they don't work anymore. So Mir was the only way you could use to pay, use a card to pay for anything, and they expanded that in Turkey. So they have good economic ties and cooperation, and a lot of sway. And you'll remember also that Turkey refused to put sanctions on Russia, whereas they were being pressured to, despite being a NATO country and so on. So it's Turkey's like literally in the middle, politically and also geographically, between the West and East. So it has good ties with Iran and Russia, even though the West doesn't, and that is advantageous for Syria, because Syria has very good ties with Iran and Russia, but not with Turkey at the moment. And you had tons of infrastructure that was stolen from Syria. You had like entire factories literally dismantled, by every nut and bolt taken apart, huge industrial machines just completely looted, and moved into Turkey. And the Turkish authorities knew about this and allowed this to happen. So there's a lot that needs to be fixed here. So I suspect that they were mostly talking about that. And even though they, in their memorandums and their public statements, they say they were discussing all these all sorts of things and bilateral cooperation, blah blah blah, I think it's mainly about Turkey. And of course they also have talked about the EU. But the thing with Turkey is that the Americans are not going to want Turkey to leave Syria, just because it's a NATO country and they want to keep their their heel, their boot on Syria's neck. And Israel definitely as well. You'll also remember that I'll also remind you that Turkey is selling a lot of oil to the Israelis and facilitating that these transactions with Azerbaijan, of course, because that oil comes mainly from Azerbaijan, which is basically Turkey. They literally call themselves one country. So that's one thing. And then Israel gives weapons in exchange. So if you look at the weapons that they use in Azerbaijan, the overwhelming majority are Israeli weapons. And you look at Israel's oil imports, main source is Azerbaijan. So, Turkey is facilitating that. Erdogan goes and he was saying earlier that he wants to invade Palestine to help the Palestinians. I mean, this is a joke, right? He's not going to do anything. Here, I'll play the clip for you. He doesn't care. Okay.
Bu akara makarayı yapamazsın. Biz nasıl Karabağ'a...
Well, if he does that, I'll eat my hat. I mean, really, he talks a good one, but he has done nothing for the Palestinians. He's continued to maintain diplomatic ties with Israel. He's continued to, as I said, facilitate oil transactions and literally help them put fuel in their tanks and in their planes. Okay, so like he's sustaining their war effort, okay, in Palestine. So he talks and talks, and he's Muslim Brotherhood and so on, and Hamas are also Muslim Brotherhood, and there's no beef between them. He was even meeting with Hamas, or rather speaking on the phone with them a while back. But I'm telling you that he's doing nothing for the Palestinians. He's just not. So you have to take that into account. Now, when it comes to Syria, just to go back to Syria. Because my point here is that as long as Israel and Turkey have good ties, that's a problem for Palestine and it's a problem for Syria. It's difficult for Syria to resume normal bilateral relations with Turkey, knowing that the Israelis could use that to infiltrate Syria, to cross the border, to do all sorts of things, and they've done that before. They have literally done that. So it's not something made up or imaginary. Now, if you look at the Kurdish situation, so you have 1/3 of Syria that's occupied by the United States in cooperation with Kurds. Now, in this aspect, Turkey and Syria's interests align because they are both angry about the situation. So for Turkey, the Kurdish Workers' Party is a terrorist organization. They persecute the Kurds. So there's a difference, right? Whereas in Syria took in Kurds. But Syria doesn't want its oil fields and its wheat being occupied by the Americans and Kurds and, being cut off from the rest of the country. And Turkey doesn't want the, YPG in Syria having such a large footprint just, on its doorstep. So they both have an interest in seeing that presence disappear, the Kurdish military presence disappear. The problem is, as I said, it's not just Kurdish, it's American as well. Turkey is a NATO country. America is, it's a very, very complex situation. I don't think a lot of people appreciate that. I think they're going to be talking about that. If they do meet with one another, they'll be discussing how to best get rid of the YPG and the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces, which are not the Syrian army. They're these Kurdish forces working with the Americans. And they were very clear about their intentions to keep the oil and the wheat. It's like they if they do sell any of it to the Syrian government, it's at exorbitant prices. So I mean, and that's rare. Most of it is just kept, for the Kurdish region. It's just like, screw you. We're keeping all of the food and we're keeping all of the oil, even though Syria is in crisis. So I mean, it's in that sense, it makes sense for Erdogan and Assad to meet soon and fix that. But I mean, again, it's not up to him alone, because the Americans are not just going to accept, Erdogan and Assad wanting to get rid of them and their Kurdish partners. So anyway, who knows what's going to happen? The line has not moved since 2019. That it's the front lines and the map has stayed relatively the same. So I mean, I can't make any predictions. I'm just telling you whose interests align. And what they expect to get out of meeting with each other if they do. But again, the prerequisite is that they kick themselves. I'm talking about Turkey, that they remove their own troops from Idlib. Why would they do that? I mean, they support the militias there. They support the Al Qaeda, which is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. They support them. They don't mind them, and they basically using them as cannon fodder. Now they've been fighting with them a little bit recently, but again, who knows what's going to happen? I think that the most positive change that you can expect is the European countries lifting sanctions off of Syria. That's going to have a direct effect on the Syrian economy and, is going to benefit them. And the fact that they are willing to appoint ambassadors now without, the Americans approving of this. And as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the Americans are quite angry. It's good in the sense that not just for Syria, but for Europe to have its own foreign policy, which is rare. You don't see independent European foreign policy anymore in anything, in any capacity. America puts sanctions on this country, everybody else has to follow suit. America has a problem with this country, everybody else has to have a problem with them. So you have no opposition. I mean, the last time you had any opposition in terms of your European, and it was the French with Iraq, and some other European leaders with the invasion of Iraq in 2003. But after that, the Americans worked very hard to kind of replace everyone that you have in Europe with, people that are of the same mindset, so that nothing like that ever happens again, right? And then you end up with Macron, and you end up with Baerbock, just neoliberals who are not that different from neoconservatives from the Republican Party. So There you go. One of you was so first of all, thank you to Aaron, thank you to Muhammad and Douglas and all of you who joined on Patreon. I'll play you a crab dance and then I'll read your questions to you, or rather answer your questions and read your comments.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Why you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Nothing like a good crab dance. So thank you very much for your kind words. King Kyo says, I've been watching you, Richard Medhurst, for some years and really appreciates the education. That makes me very happy to hear. And we have a donation from Khaled. Thank you. And there's another one also from Fatima, says, stay blessed. Thank you. You too. And we also have a contribution from Hussein. Thank you, Hussein. We have a few more here from Latifi, who says, love from Germany. Shia Muslim heroes will free not only Palestine, but the whole world. Amen. And we also have another one here from Mirko, says, thank you for your work covering the truth, what the mainstream media is not doing. Best regards from Germany. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's always good to be put in contrast with the mainstream media. Really. Because, you know, I mean, they're scandalous. I'm still thinking of the headlines that the BBC were using with Muhammad Bahar. Thank you, Carol. Says, thanks for what you do and telling it like it is. This is to support your work from London. Thank you very much, Carol. You're very kind. I appreciate it. And I want to, speaking of Germany, I thought we could talk about, hold on. I mean, I'd get up and get the book. I have it here, but I forgot where I put it. So I'll just pull it up on the screen for you guys to see it. Give me a second. So where are we now? Okay. Right. So this is okay, very good. Splendid. The book is online and we can read it together. So you should be able to see that over here. Okay. Now, if you'll just allow me a second to find the page that I was at. Oh, this might take a second. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to go and get the book. Hold on, because it's much easier than trying to find it here. Give me a second. All right. Here we go. So this is something I wanted to read to you. Let's have a read of this, okay? This is a book written by a Jewish author. It's very interesting because there's nothing he really writes in it. He doesn't give you his opinion. He puts just the documents as they are, okay? And it's called 51 Documents, Zionist Collaboration with the Nazis by Lenny Brenner. And I'm just going to read to you, this is a letter from, okay, so this is a proposal to Hitler written in 1940, okay, by the Stern Gang. So the Stern Gang are Zionist militia that then became part of the Israeli Defense Forces, okay, because the Israeli Defense Forces are originally a bunch of Zionist militias. They're Haganah, you've got Irgun, and Lehi or Stern Gang, which is the same thing. Okay, so this is a letter that they wrote to Hitler to Nazi Germany, saying that they should cooperate together. Okay, and they say here that the evacuation of Jewish masses from Europe is a precondition for solving the Jewish question. This can only be made possible and complete through the settlement of these masses in the home of the Jewish people, Palestine, and through the establishment of a Jewish state in its historic boundaries. You notice how they say Palestine? What they're saying here is basically that they agree with the Holocaust. They're saying, we want you to kick German Jews out and bring them to Palestine. They're saying that is basically liberation for Jewish people, okay? And then afterwards, they talk about the NMO, the National Military Organization. They basically mean the militia, and they're saying here that the NMO, which is well acquainted with the goodwill of the German Reich government. That's what they say, the goodwill, apparently, okay? And its authorities towards Zionist activity inside Germany and towards Zionist emigration plans is of the opinion that common interests could exist between the establishment of a new order in Europe in conformity with the German concept and the true national aspirations of the Jewish people as they are embodied by the NMO. Cooperation between the new Germany and a renewed folkish national Hebraism would be possible, and the establishment of the historic Jewish state on a national and totalitarian basis, bound by a treaty with the German Reich, would be in the interest of a maintained and strengthened future German position of power in the Near East. So what they're saying is basically that we are happy that you are supporting Zionism in Nazi Germany, and we would like to have a treaty with you, and that would benefit you by giving you a base in the Middle East. That's what they're saying, basically, right? Where they say the interest of a maintained and strengthened future German position of power in the Near East. That's exactly what it means. It means we will be a base or a sphere. We will provide you with a sphere of influence. So they're saying that, quote, proceeding from these considerations, the NMO in Palestine, under the condition the above-mentioned national aspirations of the Israeli freedom movement are recognized on the side of the German Reich, offers to actively take part in the war on Germany's side. Unquote. Do I have to read it again? I'll read it again. Proceeding from these considerations, the national military organization in Palestine, so that's the Israeli militias, right? Under the condition, the above-mentioned national aspirations of the Israeli freedom movement are recognized on the side of the German Reich, offers to actively take part in the war on Germany's side. Unquote. So they're literally saying we will fight with Nazi Germany. This offer by the NMO, covering activity in the military, political, and information fields in Palestine, and according to our determined preparations outside Palestine, would be connected to the military training and organizing of Jewish manpower in Europe under the leadership and command of the NMO. These military units would take part in the fight to conquer Palestine should such a front be decided upon. And then they say afterwards that I mean, this is extraordinary, really. Extraordinary. Again, this is not an opinion of someone. This is not the author's opinion. It's just the letter as it was written by the Israelis to Nazi Germany. Nothing else. I'm reading to you directly from the letter. Okay, so the cooperation of the Israeli freedom movement would also be along the lines of one of the last speeches of the German Reich Chancellor, in which Herr Hitler emphasized that he would utilize every combination and coalition in order to isolate and defeat England. So they're saying, we want to fight with Nazi Germany and we're going to help you fight against England. That's what these Zionists are saying. This is during World War II. So this is years and years after the Nuremberg laws have already been passed. They are fully aware that Jews are being persecuted by Nazi Germany. They're probably already aware they're being sent to camps, although I think this was written in 1940. Yeah, late 1940. So, I mean, just the beginning of the extermination camps, because they were already putting them in concentration camps, but the liquidation began in 1941, around 1941. So, I mean, regardless, right? Do we have to liquidate people for you to oppose Nazism? Obviously not, right? Anyone? I mean, this is just low. This is low, really. So, you know, it's really funny also because they admit that terrorists, they literally say that. They say the NMO whose terrorist activities, they're talking about themselves. The NMO whose terrorist activities began as early as the autumn of the year 1936, became, after the publication of the British White Papers, especially prominent in the summer of 1939 through successful intensification of its terroristic activity and the sabotage of English property. So what they're basically, in this section, they're just explaining that, you know, the United Kingdom is not letting Jews emigrate to Palestine in the large numbers that they would like. And that's why they're sabotaging English assets and, you know, behaving like terrorists. Again, their own words, So, I mean, I find this incredible. And also, in this book, so separate from this letter, I'm talking now in general, in this book, you will find Zionists, in one instance, thanking, I think his name was Dr. Epstein. I mean, the irony. Thanking the Nazis for putting Jews in ghettos to accustom them to living in, communities to prepare them for Israeli life. I mean, have you ever heard of such a thing in your life? They're also basically saying they want Germany to kick Jews out faster so that they can bring them to Palestine, and that they would control emigration exclusively to Palestine. So if you're a German Jew, you can go nowhere outside of Germany except Palestine. Why? Because of Zionism, because they want to fill up the colony. And their war, basically, back then, most Jews didn't like Zionism because they felt if they're German first and then Jewish, or they're Hungarian first and then Jewish, or they're, they're Polish first and then Jewish. And that conflicts with Zionism because the Israelis want Jews to be Israeli first, right? Not Jewish, but Israeli first and then Jewish. So there's no more, the only national identity is Israeli. There's nothing else. So, they're basically making offers to Nazi Germany several times. And you can see that it's the Israelis who are constantly going to the Nazis, the Zionists who are going to the Nazis and asking for cooperation and asking for offers and for collaboration and, offering this and that, and even saying that they'll give them oil, for example. They'll try and find oil for them in the Middle East if they help them, send all the Jews to Palestine. And then also, of course, you have the Havara Agreement. So they basically got the the government of Nazi Germany, the regime, to transfer all the assets, the money of German Jews, to steal it and then move it to Palestine by opening two bank accounts in the British bank there on behalf of the Zionist organization. I mean, really just shocking crap. Really, absolutely shocking. So Zionists and Nazis are not just similar in their behavior, like how they storm houses like the Gestapo and just, massacre people and put them in camps like, you see in Yarmouk Stadium or in Sde Teiman and on and on. They're literally together. They're literally working together. Okay? There's no opinion in this. This book, look, I'll just pick any random page. Do you see these two lines here at the top? The very, very first two lines. It might be a bit bright. These lines. That's all the author has written for this document. One sentence. And the rest is the original document. That's it. So there's no opinion. There's no conjecture. It's just the documents as they were written by their respective authors. And you can see them for their true colors. It's for who they really are. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. You truly, I mean, it's funny if you look at a headline. I found this headline yesterday. When I was researching things from the book. I think it was from the LA Times. Hold on. Was it Haaretz or was it? I can't remember now. If it was. I think. Yes, here it is. This is from the LA Times from 1989. So it says paper breaks taboo on Shamir. So Shamir is an Israeli prime minister who was part of the Stern gang, which wrote the letter asking for, it's saying we will fight on Nazi Germany's side. Okay, he became Israeli prime minister later on, and he's he was a wanted terrorist. I've posted his photograph from the wanted poster from the British Palestine police on Twitter before. So that's who they're talking about. He's a war criminal. He could never travel to the UK until I don't know when. And in any case, paper breaks taboo on Shamir, Nazi link. So Israel's Jerusalem Post broke a national taboo today by writing of a 1941 link between Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir's Stern gang guerrillas and Nazi Germany. The episode, known to historians, is almost never mentioned in a country that reveres the memory of 6 million European Jews, including Shamir's entire family. I mean, how can you say they revere them when the guy literally offered to work with Nazi Germany and fight on their side? That's just, it's such an oxymoron to even write this. But it is supposed to contrast it. Fine. The respected English language daily, which bitterly opposes Shamir, broke the silence in an editorial blasting obscene attacks by the premier and other right-wingers on the Peace Now movement's contact with Palestinians, noting that Shamir said there would be no KGB in Israel to hunt down Peace Now. Okay, so basically what they're saying is, how can you blast Israelis for having contact with Palestinians in order to find peace when you yourself were offering to work with Nazi Germany. That's the criticism being made, yeah? So, noting, so the Jerusalem Post said that might be reassuring, but for the disturbing memory of the Stern Gang, which, with the final solution already underway in all but name, sought out German cooperation in the setting up here of a Jewish state on a national and totalitarian basis. Yeah, so, I mean, I forgot to, I was going to make a point of that word totalitarian, how they say it in the letter, that they want a totalitarian one. Well, they certainly achieved that, yeah? I mean, really just incredible. This is not the only book by Brenner. There's another one that it talks about the same issues, and it's called Zionism in the Age of the Dictators, okay? So it's this book over here. All right, that's by the same author. And he's Jewish, okay? He's Jewish. So I mean, I haven't read that one, but I know it deals with the same topics as this. And I love the way that this is done, because there's nothing but the documents themselves. They just, shed so much light. Really amazing, really unbelievable. And like, the shocking stuff is like, it's throughout all of the Holocaust, like from the time of the Nuremberg laws, even as Hitler was just being, appointed chancellor, up till the start of the extermination camps, the liquidation. I mean, it's really shocking. It's like the whole period of Nazis being in power, you have Zionists trying to work with them economically, militarily, financially, politically. It's unreal. It's unreal. There's no doubt that, no doubt whatsoever that Zionists and Nazis were allies. This is a fact. In their own words. No wonder they behave so similarly. No wonder. So, make no mistake, when you call Israelis Nazis, it's in every sense of the word. Literally Nazis. Literally. Thank you, Deborah, for joining on Patreon, and we've also got some comments here on. This is from Bradley. Says, please discuss the King David Hotel destruction, terror attack in Britain, and how Benjamin Netanyahu still celebrates that terrorist boom bing. Also, question, why is UK supporting Israel after they committed that brutal act of terrorism? I'd like to know myself. Honestly, I'd like to know myself. I did talk about it. I did talk about it. I think I mean, I'll do a recap happily. I mean, it relates ironically to the Irgun, because they bombed the headquarters of the British mandate in Palestine. Okay, so I mean, look, if Palestinians had done it, you could say it's an act of freedom fighting, right? Because it's their land. But these are Polish, Ukrainian, Russians, Hungarians. Yeah, they're basically going to another country and then blowing things up. You can't, defend that in any way. You can't defend that. There's no legal or moral basis for that, So what they did is they dressed up as Arabs. These are Israelis, remember, Zionists. They dressed up as Arabs, and they put explosives in the hotel, and they killed 91 people. And among them, you had, British civil officers and civil servants, and like I said, it was the headquarters for the UK inside of Palestine. It's in Jerusalem. It's the King David Hotel, and if you look at the death toll, it's the deadliest terrorist attack in history against British subjects ever, and it's carried out by Israelis. Okay, so this is what I was saying before, where I was saying Yitzhak Shamir was wanted by the British Palestine police, and also not only Shamir but Begin, yeah, Menachem Begin, so another war criminal who also became prime minister. Isn't it funny how all these terrorists became prime ministers of Israel? I think that says a lot about Israeli society. So, they carried that out, and then they kidnapped and killed 2 British soldiers, not officers, but soldiers, a few days later, and then they booby-trapped their bodies. So they basically strung up their bodies on a tree and filled them with explosives so that when the rest of the army would find them, they would also be killed. Just like vile, crazy terrorist crap. And Netanyahu celebrated that. So if I show you the plaque, I can show you this photograph of the plaque. In 2006, so that's 50 years exactly after the attack, okay? No, excuse me, 60 years. So let me just pull up the photograph of it so you can see it. Yeah, so on the 60th anniversary, they put this thing up outside, which is a weird thing to do because when it's like if Al-Qaeda went to the Twin Towers and then put up a plaque there, like, okay, so you're celebrating it. That's what you're celebrating it. Or the CIA. It's like if the CIA went and put up a plaque outside the Twin Towers. I mean, if Britain did that, that's commemorating. I mean, or in a somber, melancholic sense, yeah. But if the perpetrators of the attack are doing it, they're commemorating it in a celebratory way. Yes. So it looks like this. The hotel. So it says the hotel housed the British Mandate Secretariat as well as the Army headquarters. On July 22nd, 1946, Irgun fighters, at the order of the Hebrew resistance movement, the ones that want to collaborate with Nazis, planted explosives in the basement. Warning phone calls had been made to the hotel's dispatch, the Palestine Post and the French consulate, urging the hotel's occupants to leave immediately. The hotel was not evacuated, and after 25 minutes, the bombs exploded. The entire western wing was destroyed. And to the Irgun's regret, 92 persons were killed. So they're basically blaming the people they murdered for being murdered. But it's the same crap that you still hear the Israelis say. They say like, oh, well, we told you to go to a humanitarian zone. We told you to go to Mawasi. And then when the people go to Mawasi, they bomb them. So this idea that, they should be allowed to put bombs there. And then, if you don't listen to them and die, that's your fault, is ridiculous. And this was so offensive that the British government issued a formal protest against them. And guess who was in attendance when they unveiled this plaque that I just read to you? Netanyahu. Netanyahu was there in 2006, and he attended this event. So, he's basically celebrating the worst terrorist attack ever carried out against British subjects, the largest. And, this guy gets diplomatic and military support from the United Kingdom. I mean, he's literally a fucking enemy. He's literally a terrorist enemy. And then they if you say something good about Hamas, apparently that's terrorist offense. But the Israelis who murder British citizens, they're okay, and they're okay while they're murdering Palestinians. Like still, incredible. So this is what the Israelis are. They've always been terrorists. They've always been Nazis, and that's it. There's nothing else to say. So again, I'm very grateful for all your donations and your support. And if you can, please, I'd wish that you guys donate to the disabled and displaced children in Gaza first and only. If you can only afford one, please prioritize them. Here is the link to the GoFundMe. So they are 88% of the way. Oh, look, 91% of the way. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much. That's amazing. It was at 88%. Now it's 91%. And again, I know the organizer of the fundraiser, and this money goes directly to disabled and displaced children in Gaza, children who have special needs. So thank you for that. Please help them get to 100%. I've posted the link in the chat, and it's also in the description. So please donate to them if you can. And there's also 2 more Palestinian charities, Christian charities, that you can donate to. And again, they're in the chat and they're also in the description. So thank you very much. And to all those who are supporting the show, who, after they demonetize my channel, I'm very grateful. So, again, I basically get donations mainly through YouTube, and then they block that permanently. So, you know, the only way now is through PayPal, Rumble, and Patreon and GoFundMe. Those are the last ways. So, the only ways. So, if you can donate and support my work, I'd be very appreciative. Thank you guys very much. That's all for today. Take care. Ma salame. Bye-bye.
A is for
all men and women created by go. You know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
D is for
Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them.
E is for
Excuse to walk by the dealer and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
F is for
Time friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life.
G is for
Go to Joe 30330.
H is for
Hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
I is for
I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
J is for
Just look at the record.
I have President Biden, Vice President Biden.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at my record and you still doubt about my commitment, then you should vote for somebody else.
K is for
Kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
L is for
The lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
M is for
Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear work.
N is for
NATO.
O is for
The only African-American woman that's ever been elected to the United States Senate.
P is for
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
R is for
Rest her soul, and although she's your mom's still alive.
S is for
Send a text to the word united.
T is for
Truth over facts.
U is for
Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future.
V is for
I'll vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much.
W is for
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
X is for
Xi Jinping.
Y is for
And you ain't black.
Z is for
She's sleeping? Women in our country has been classified as essential. So this is an issue.
By the way, this is my little sister Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh no, this is Val, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.